He was shot, tortured, captured. He ripped off his own fingers, escaped prison camps 5 times, and somehow he survived it all. His name, Adrian Carton de Wiart. You've never seen a soldier like this. Adrian Carton de Wiart was born in Brussels in 1880 into a wealthy aristocratic family with strong connections across Europe. Though surrounded by privilege, his youth was marked by restlessness and a longing for adventure. He was sent to Oxford for a proper British education, but found academic life uninspiring. Eager for action, he dropped out, lied about his age, and volunteered for the British Army. Before long, he was on a ship to South Africa, ready to fight in the brutal Second Boer War. During the First World War, Adrian Carton de Wiart became a living legend on the battlefield. He was shot not once, but 6 times, in the face, the head, the arm, and in the leg. Each wound more brutal than the last. A shell fragment shattered his left eye, leaving him with a black eye patch for the rest of his life. His hand was so badly damaged it had to be amputated. And when doctors refused to remove 2 mangled fingers, he didn't wait. He tore them off himself. But even then, he refused to stop fighting. Nothing. Not pain, not injury, not even near death, could keep him away from the front lines. The end of the First World War didn't slow him down, not even for a moment. When most men would have retired to a quiet life, Adrian Carton de Wiart simply changed uniforms. He was appointed as the British military attaché to the newly reformed nation of Poland, a country teetering on the edge of chaos, surrounded by threats on all sides. Fluent in Polish and fiercely independent, he moved through post-war Eastern Europe with ease, becoming a trusted figure in high-level diplomatic and military circles. But he wasn't just a soldier or a diplomat. He was a man of appetite and instinct. He hunted wild boar in the Polish forests, rode horses across the countryside, and drank with generals, aristocrats, and revolutionaries alike. In the smoky salons of Warsaw and the shadowy back rooms of embassies, de Wiart became a legend once again, not for what he had survived, but for the life he lived without fear. He belonged to a different breed of man, a warrior who thrived in chaos and felt most at home where the world was most unstable. By 1940, Adrian Carton de Wiart was nearly 60 years old, an age by which most soldiers had long since left the battlefield. But not him. When Britain launched a desperate and chaotic campaign to push back the advancing German forces in Norway, de Wiart was sent to lead the mission. It was a brutal, high-risk operation from the start, plagued by poor planning, harsh weather, and fierce enemy resistance. The mission ultimately failed, but not for lack of courage. As always, Carton de Wiart didn't command from the rear. He led from the front. Under artillery fire in freezing mountain terrain, he was seen charging forward with his signature black eye patch, empty sleeve pinned to his uniform, shouting orders with the same ferocity he'd shown decades earlier in the trenches of the Great War. Even in defeat, he remained unshaken, a commander forged in chaos, and utterly fearless in the face of failure. In 1941, while en route to a critical diplomatic mission in Yugoslavia, Carton de Wiart's plane crashed into the Mediterranean Sea. He survived the impact, of course he did, and was taken prisoner by Italian forces. For most men, that would have been the end of the story. But for Carton de Wiart, it was just another chapter. He spent 2 years in a prison camp near Florence. But he didn't sit still. He attempted to escape not once, not twice, but 5 times. He dug tunnels with makeshift tools, scaled prison walls, and even faked illness. He came close to freedom more than once, but was always recaptured. Still, nothing broke his spirit. Even in captivity, he remained the same relentless force, impatient, daring, and impossible to intimidate. By 1943, the world had changed again. And once more, Adrian Carton de Wiart was called back into service. This time, not as a soldier, but as a statesman. Winston Churchill himself appointed him as Britain's special envoy to China, one of the most complex and volatile fronts of the Second World War. At 63 years old, with one hand, one eye, and a trail of shrapnel still in his body, he traveled to Chongqing, the wartime capital of China. There, he negotiated with Chiang Kai-shek, observed Japanese movements, and advised Allied commanders on strategy. Despite the cultural and political tension, de Wiart adapted quickly. He wore a British uniform in Chinese palaces, shared cigars with generals, and once again found himself in the middle of global history, calm, focused, and utterly undeterred by danger. After decades of warfare, espionage, and diplomacy, Adrian Carton de Wiart finally retired, this time for real. In 1947, he settled into a quiet home in County Cork, Ireland. No battles, no missions, just peace. But make no mistake, he never truly faded. Visitors described him as sharp, funny, and still every bit the soldier in spirit. He spent his days reading, walking, and recalling stories that no one quite believed, until they saw the scars. He died in 1963 at the age of 83, having survived 2 world wars, countless wounds, and a life of danger that most would find unimaginable. His autobiography, titled Happy Odyssey, tells it all with dry wit and brutal honesty. And perhaps the most remarkable thing of all is that through everything, war, pain, chaos, Adrian Carton de Wiart never once complained. Adrian Carton de Wiart was no ordinary man. He was a soldier, a fighter, a walking paradox. Wounded beyond reason, yet stronger than anyone around him. A man who lost so much, an eye, a hand, peace of mind, and still kept charging forward. He survived 2 world wars, multiple assassination attempts, aircraft crashes, prison camps, and 6 bullet wounds. And somehow, he never lost his spirit. He was fearless, stubborn, and utterly unstoppable. Perhaps, just perhaps, he was the most unlikely survivor of the 20th century. And when asked how he endured it all, he didn't speak of trauma or tragedy. Instead, he wrote just 5 unforgettable words. Frankly, I enjoyed the war.